Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Pinell County Community College District Governing Board. And Evelyn, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. Please stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted. Mary Lou, do we have anyone for the call to the public? Thank you. And thank you so much for showing on time and getting comfortable, but we need to move to executive session. And so we're going to ask you to step out for a bit. We will come and get you. Yes, we need a motion to do that, but could I have a motion to move to executive session?
Motion to move.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm back in Venice.
Okay, we're back. My apologies for the long wait. Our next item on the agenda is a possible action item stemming from our discussion in executive session, and we do have such an item. The board has determined that we should consider a resolution, and I'm going to read that resolution and then ask for a motion to adopt it, and we'll see where that goes. But I'll begin by reading the resolution. On October 27th, 2021, board member Jerry Walker visited the Superstition Mountain campus of Central Arizona College. And during the course of that visit, Mr. Walker criticized the performance of Central Arizona College employees relative to groundskeeping, and Mr. Walker indicated that certain employees should be reassigned so that only Apache Junction residents work at SMC. And Mr. Walker expressed displeasure with CAC Vice President Wadka, asking that employees report any deficiency in Mr. Wadka's performance directly to Mr. Walker. And Mr. Walker engaged in extended promotion of his political and religious views. And Mr. Walker provided a business card with his personal cell phone number to an employee, inviting the employee to report any concerns directly to him. And on visiting the art department and observing sculptures of vultures, Mr. Walker indicated that he could place them on his lawn to attack or kill Democrats. In light of the above, it is the determination of the Board of Governors of the Pinell County Community College District that Mr. Walker has violated the Central Arizona College policy on board ethics and code of conduct, which requires that individual governing board members shall exercise proper use of authority and appropriate decorum. In addition to violating the spirit and intent of this policy, specific provisions violated include paragraph 6, not use their positions to influence employment decisions concerning any individual, and paragraph 8, exercise authority over the organization as explicitly set forth in board policies, recognizing individual limitations, which include interaction with the president or employees, except when or if explicitly board authorized. Mr. Walker has violated the CAC policy on board job description, which requires the board deliberate in many voices but speak and govern with one voice. Mr. Walker's actions, as described above, interfered with the normal operations of SMC, tend to undermine the authority of the president and her leadership team, and interfere with her ability to carry out her responsibilities under various CAC policies, including the policy on human relations, the policy on government on general executive constraints, and the president's job description. Now therefore be it resolved that Mr. Walker's appointment as the board's representative to the Arizona Association of Community College Trustees be rescinded, and that he be publicly admonished for the behaviors described above. And I'll hear a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to adopt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mary Lou, could we have a roll call vote, please?
I have a couple of comments to make. Number one, shame on you, Dr. Oderon, for even bringing any of this up, because it's completely irrelevant. I never said anything to anyone that wasn't inquiry made to me about, and I told them at the time that I had no authority to make any changes or decisions of any kind, that they had to go to the president of the college, and if there was something that the board could do, she would bring it up to the board members to vote on something, and that's all. That was the limit of it. As far as giving my personal cell phone number to people, it's on the business card that I was provided by the college. I didn't have any other business cards at the time, so I gave them one of my personal business cards, and I explained that I had crossed out my old cell phone number and written my new cell phone number on it, because I was inundated by telemarketers who took up most of my time, so I got rid of the number and got a new phone. There were a lot of things in that redacted form that you gave me to look at that were completely and totally hearsay and irrelevant, and had absolutely no basis in reality. As far as making comments about my political and religious comments to anyone, I'll, for the record, state that I am a Baptist preacher, and my goal in life is to tell as many people about Jesus Christ as I possibly can under any circumstances that the situation presents itself. I will never, ever, ever change my position regarding that particular mission in my life. And number two, hearsay is hearsay. It's not evidence. And I have a right to be confronted by an accuser in person, face to face, if they've got something negative to say to me or about me. That just is the appropriate way of doing things. And I had assumed that based on my conversation with Mary Lou, it was all right for me to be on this campus at the time, because I called her and asked her what I needed to do. And Mary Lou specifically told me that you can go over there anytime you want to. That was her, those are her words. She won't deny that. And going through a chain of command, that's something I haven't done since I retired from the Navy. If there are any questions or comments that anyone wants to make to me, I think right now would be the appropriate time to do that. And if you have concerns about what I'm doing as a member of the college board, then you have the responsibility and the right to do that. If there's any other thing to be said, please say it now. Thank you.
It is not in order for public comment at this time. Is there any further discussion from the board? Mary Lou, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Sorry.
Vote.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. You said it's time to vote?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does any board member have any items they wish to remove from the consent agenda? Then hearing none, I'd like a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to accept?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in, Mary Lou, roll call, please.
Abstain.
Evelyn Kasuga,
Yes.
Gladys Christensen,
Yes.
Dan Miller,
Yes.
Jerry Walker,
Abstain.
Yes. Thank you. Next item is the COVID appreciation compensation and salary increase. Ms. Verdugo.
Good afternoon, Governing Board President, Governing Board members, President Elliott, Mary Lou, students, staff, and guests. The action item before you today is the COVID appreciation compensation and a January 2022 salary increase. The college would like to recognize the commitment, dedication, and hard work of our employees during the pandemic and offer all full-time employees who are on payroll December 31st, 2020, a one-time COVID appreciation compensation payment in the amount of $1,000. The cost for the COVID appreciation compensation is $368,000. In addition, since the college has not been able to provide a salary increase to CAC employees since July of 2019, a January 2022, my apologies, that's incorrect in there, it should be January 2022. Salary increase is also proposed. This would include 5% for support staff, 5% for managerial and technical staff, 3% for administration, 5 salary steps for full-time faculty, and an increase in the adjunct pay rate to $775 per credit hour. There would be no increase for part-time staff at this time. The salary increase amount would be $1,540,000. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board?
Just a question, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mr. Wadka, I'm assuming that there's finances to cover the request for this resolution. All right.
Any other questions?
Just a comment to clarify that it is for 2022, even though the write-up is for 2021.
Right.
Just for the record.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Could I have a motion to accept the proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sounds like a wonderful thing to do. Mary Lou, roll call, please.
Yes.
Gladys Christensen,
Yes.
Dan Miller,
Yes.
Jerry Walker,
Abstain.
Yes. Thank you. Next item, sale of property. Mr. Wadka?
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Chair, governing board members, Madam President, Secretary, and colleagues, and any guests present this afternoon. I bring before you, third month in a row now, a discussion with Dorito Partners, which is a development company. If you recall, 2 months ago, I brought forward at the September meeting approvals, to seek approval to perform an appraisal on the property, which you approved. Then the month of October, we had asked for the board to approve a non-binding agreement, and now we've moved a step forward, where in your packet there is a purchase and sale agreement and the joint escrow instructions for the sale of the Casa Grande Center and adjoining parcels in the amount of $1,150,000. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the board? Dan.
Question, Mr. Walker, any discussion you've had that, kind of validates the purchase price that we discussed last month? Any consideration there?
Sure. One of the key components is an appraisal of the property that was performed, that was reviewed. If you recall from prior conversations, Dorito Partners did even offer a price that was $90,000 above the appraisal value. We had discussions from outside individuals who questioned the amounts from the prior board meetings. I spoke to them, and I received assurances that the amount we're receiving is much in line and a very reasonable offer of what exists in the marketplace these days.
One more question, Mr. Chair. Is this the appropriate time to sell that property?
It is the appropriate time. It is something that we probably would have brought forward to the board after our Lucid would have moved out after lease. They are here. Lucid is leasing the property through December of next year. So obviously, this property would not be starting to be developed and so forth until Lucid moves out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walker.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Wadka.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to accept the purchase and sale agreement?
So made.
Second.
Mary Lou? I should ask for further discussion. Any further discussion? Mary Lou, roll call, please.
Evelyn Kasuga,
Yes.
Gladys Christensen,
Yes.
Dan Miller,
Yes.
Jerry Walker,
Yes.
Dr. O'Diorn,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Next is a report from our president, Dr. Elliott.
Good afternoon, governing board members, faculty, staff, and guests. I have a quick few announcements. As I mentioned before, we had some accreditation visits earlier this semester, both for the ECE Early Childhood Education Program and Dietary Program. I'm happy to report that both those visits went very well, and kudos and great work to the early childhood education staff and to Sherry Steinkamp and our dietary program. And then I wanted to share with you that the college has been selected as a bellwether finalist for our Wilson Electric program that we do have here at the SMC campus. There are 10 finalists in the workforce development category, and we have been selected to participate in that competition, which will be in January. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the board? Dan?
Yeah, just a comment on the amount of work that goes into even being a nominee, and I know a lot of things happen behind the scenes, so please express our pleasure to those individuals who are involved, and probably prefer to remain unnamed because that's just who they are, but we appreciate it nonetheless, so thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I would reiterate Dan's thoughts and also point out this is our second time in the barrel with Bellwether. So, excellent. Next is Business Affairs Report. Mr. Wadka.
Yes, sir, thank you. Included in your packets are just the awarded bids and no monthly financial report at this time. And the reason for that is just a quick turnaround of the board meetings. And also September is our busiest month of the year with the fall semester starting. And I just felt we needed an extra few more days to reconcile. So at our next regular board meeting, I will be presenting multi-month data. So probably at the next meeting, regular meeting is January board meeting, I'll probably have 3 months of data, meaning September, October, and November to present. You do, however, have the awarded bids over 20,000, and there are 14 of them listed, and be happy to answer any questions you have on them.
Any questions regarding the awarded bids? Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And our monitoring report. Dr. Cardenas, Dr. Gilliland.
Good afternoon, Dr. O'Diorn, members of the board, Dr. Elliott, colleagues and guests. I am here to share with you the monitoring report that has to do with our skilled trades programs, with national certifications, with graduate employment, and I think one of my favorite pieces of this is the employee satisfaction piece. We've gotten some very good results from that. But I'm also going to share this report, and in fact, he's going to do most of the presenting with Dustin Maroney, who is our Executive Director of Institutional Effectiveness. And it actually, for two reasons that I wanted to invite Dustin today, he did a very important piece of this that took quite a bit of digging deep to get that data. But Dustin is also the data guru behind all of our monitoring reports. So whenever you see these charts and the data that we're collecting, although others, the VPs, are primarily presenting, it's really Dustin who's in the background also assisting us with gathering this data. So it was a good opportunity to introduce him to you and let him share some of this information with you. And I will stay on board to help with any questions you might have afterwards. So I'm going to turn it over to Dustin Maroney at this point. Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you, Dr. Gilliland. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Elliott, Madam Secretary, there are several items that we're going to look at on our monitoring report today. So if we go to the next slide, the first one is a summary of the 5 different measures that we look at for outcome number 3 related to workforce. So moving on to the next slide, we'll look at graduate employment. Every year we send surveys out to all of our graduates shortly after they complete their degree or certificate and ask them questions about, are you employed? Are you employed in your field of study? And we typically get a pretty good response from our students. About 2/3 of them consistently are employed. We are right around our target, not quite there for this most recent year. And then the goal of having 60% of our students employed in their area of study, we're a little bit short in that area, right around 45%. Part of this may have to do with the timing of our survey because we send it within that first month or 2 after they graduate, right? So they now have this new credential. It does take time for them to find employment in their field of study, but we find that the longer we wait before we survey them, the lower our response rates go. So we feel like we've got a pretty sweet spot that we found in terms of timing, but we also have found a slight decrease in our overall response rates just as a result of the pandemic. And this is true not just for our graduate employment survey, but all surveys across the board. And it's a theme that's being seen nationwide, not just at Central Arizona College. So we feel like we're providing a great service for our students, helping them to receive jobs and jobs in their field, but we want to continue to find better ways to gather that data back from our students. Going on to our next chart. So this one we look at our occupational program. So this is primarily our certificates and our Associate of Applied Science degrees that lead to a specific industry recognized credential. So this would be like our nursing program and students who take the NCLEX, or it would be our pharmacy tech program, our radiology program, dietary manager, right? So many of these programs, prepare these students to take this industry recognized certification. We are doing fairly well. We're hovering right around the 90% mark of our students successfully passing that industry certification on their first try. Not quite at our goal of 100%, which is very lofty, but probably where it should be. We are on par with all of our sister colleges throughout the state, the other Arizona community colleges, and significantly above the national average in this area. As we move on to our next outcome or our next chart, this is employer satisfaction. So we also participate every year in a survey that's administered by Eastern Arizona College called the Higher Education Partnership Satisfaction Survey. And we gather the contact information for about 400 different partners that we have with CAC. This ranges from our local cities, our feeder high schools, businesses that are part of our advisory groups, businesses that our students do internships with, local chambers of commerce, et cetera. So that's just kind of a sample of that. And we just asked these partners, how satisfied are they with their partnership at CAC? Across the board, we have been above our target of 80% satisfaction for the last several years. We did receive word this year that Eastern Arizona College has decided to no longer maintain this survey, so we won't be able to do it through them, but they have given us full permission to take all of their same questions and we can administer it ourselves. So we intend to do that for the foreseeable future, to continue to reach out to our partners and gather that feedback from them. Our final chart that we have to look at is our FTSE in our occupational courses. So this is based on students' program of study. We align these programs with the State Department of Education's chosen programs related to Perkins, which is a federal funding program related to occupational programs of study. And so we've seen a small increase this year to 1,296 is our FTSE for this last year. That is improvement over prior years, but still not quite where we want to be. We are looking at adding additional partnerships with Lucid Motors, finding ways to capture some of the training that they're doing on our campuses and being able to grant credit to students for that. We're also looking at expanding into other areas that are based on the highest need in the state of Arizona, such as HVAC and plumbing. So we hope to see this continue to increase. We've seen some positive gains in the last year. Our 5th report, we actually don't have a report for yet. We're still working on developing that one. But at this time, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them or defer to Dr. Gilliland.
Any questions from the board? Yeah?
Any other questions? Mr. Mahoney, correct?
Maroney.
I don't think you presented to us before, so thank you, very, very eloquent, I appreciate that. Just on 3.1, you're talking about an area of study or degree, and it's probably being researched or analyzed, but if they're not in their field of study, the job that they do get, is that offered in our coursework? In other words, are they going to some place that we wouldn't have had an opportunity to train them in anyway because we didn't have the courses offered?
That is a great question. We've never looked at the data that way. We do ask the students not only to identify, is it in your field of study? We let them determine that for us. But we do ask them, who is your employer, right? And then what is like the general term of this field? So we do have that data from our graduates, and we can definitely look into that and identify, are they being employed in areas that we currently offer or we currently don't offer? That might be really good information. I appreciate that insight.
Okay. And so this one, I hope, kind of lands the same way, but I haven't heard anything about it except from, I think, Facebook and others that, there's this talk about metaverse, and a lot of places, gamers are going there. There's storefronts, I think, where you can buy clothing for avatars, and I know that's way out of our scope, but I was wondering if there was some thought about having a metaverse university where the avatars could go and learn about, when actually it wouldn't be the avatar, it'd be the person actually controlling it, where they could get, college credits perhaps. I don't know if that's too far way out there, but I know some people are thinking about it, and we've got some pretty smart people here, so I don't know if that's a thought as well.
The only thing I could comment is I think that line of thinking does align with the esports programs that we have slowly been rolling out to all of our campuses. So I don't know that I would be the right person to look into that, but I can definitely talk to some people and see if that would be a viable avenue to pursue.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Also on 3.1, I had a question. With regard to the area of study target, we're at 45, target is higher. Your explanation made sense. Measuring that 1 month out is difficult, but I understand why you don't do it later. Is it possible that target needs to be revisited?
I don't know that I would say it needs to be revisited.
Okay.
As we think about the way that a lot of our programs are designed and the way that we're building our partnerships, right? So we have many programs where students are able to engage in internships kind of while they're still in school before they've even graduated. So I think if our goal were set at 100%, yes, I would say that might be unreasonable within that first month or two. But I think that we can look at additional ways to gather this data from our students, maybe pull them again at the 6-month mark or the 9-month mark, something along those lines, to try and increase the accuracy of the information we're getting. So I don't know that I would suggest that we lower our target, because I think that we should strive for that level of excellence for us and for our students.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
I have one question. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the percentage of graduates employed. Are they employed in the areas that we have trained them to be in, or are they just in an employment position of opportunity because they couldn't get a job where we had provided training for them?
That's the exact question that we asked them, right? So we asked them two pieces. One, are you employed? And so that is on the chart there, the green bars. So 67% of our students, our graduates, are employed in some job, right? Whether it be McDonald's, whether it be in, at the hospital as a nurse, just do they have a job? And then the second question is your job in your field of study? And so that's the yellow bars at 45%. So we know that there's a gap of about, 22% of our graduates are employed in a field that's not within their area of study.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that completes our agenda. Our next meeting is January 18th of next year. That being the case, we would like to wish you all a joyous holiday season. Take some time and decompress a little, as we will. Thanks for being with us. We're adjourned.